Chief talking.
To a domestic situation at an in-home daycare. Upon arrival, officers located a deceased male, female, and juvenile victim. There were other children present within the daycare, and we were able to get them out of the daycare and reunify them with their parents. At this time, there's no outstanding threats in the community. This is an isolated incident, and we are continuing to investigate it throughout the day and probably evening. I can provide you more information as we gather the information throughout the day.
Was this family?
All the victims appear to be a part of one family.
How many kids were inside the home when it happened?
There were 7 children within the daycare. One is deceased.
Can you give an approximate age of that child?
I honestly do not know.
Were there any other injuries besides the 3 that are deceased?
There were no other injuries to any other children inside the daycare.
Chief, is this a house that has been known to y'all, or is there any history with this couple that you know of?
At this point, I do not have that information.
Chief, what time did this happen?
This happened just after 9 this morning.
Was the person who perpetrated the attack one of the deceased, or do we know where they are?
We believe the perpetrator is deceased.
Is the perpetrator the male or the female?
We believe it's the male.
What's the relationship of the adults who were deceased to the daycare, if any, or to the home?
It's believed to be the daycare owners.
Do they live there?
We believe so, yes.
Both of them?
Yes.
Are they, what's their relationship, husband, wife?
I honestly do not know the marital status of them, or if they're partners. I don't know at this point.
But the child that was killed is their child?
Believed to be their child, yes.
Can you just talk about the gravity of this situation, dealing with something like this, and then also having other people's children in the home at this time that this happened?
Well, this is a horrific, tragic situation for any community, especially here in Hopkins, where we don't see this type of crime. It's a rarity here in Hopkins. We're a very safe community, and the impact is felt not only here but elsewhere for every parent who has a child in a daycare setting or anywhere where they don't have immediate control over their child. So yes, it's heartbreaking.
Chief, I'm sorry if I missed this. Was this a stabbing? What was the weapon involved here?
At this time, we are still trying to determine the weapons involved, and we'll release that at a later date.
Anything about the nature of the injuries?
No, at this point, I can't tell you.
How were police notified about this, and what sort of response did you guys have right away?
Our response was due to a parent of one of the daycare children who had arrived to drop off their children.
Did they witness it?
I believe so.
What are the ages of the range of the children there and the deceased?
They were all very, very young children. So I don't have their ages at this point.
Under 5?
It was somewhere around that age or less.
Do we know if there was any no contact, domestic restraining order, anything like that involved in this couple?
Again, we're trying to dive into the background here, but initially our goal was to get here to protect the scene as quick as possible with multiple agencies. That's why I had a very large response. And at that point, the goal is just to preserve the scene and make sure that everyone was safe. Render aid as quick as possible.
Sorry, are the kids all back with their parents now?
Yes, all the children have been reunified with their parents, and that's why this took so long to come out here and tell me this.
Can you just tell me again your reaction? I mean, you hit on it a little bit, that this really is a nightmare situation for a parent. You drop your kid off at daycare, and then you find out this happened.
Yeah, I mean, there's no worse scenario than this, where you drop off your child to somewhere you think is safe, and you get that phone call. I think we can all relate who have children and those who don't, that this is just a tragic situation anywhere in the world, let alone here in Hopkins. And again, this is a rarity, and we will continue to investigate it as thorough and transparent as possible.
Chief, 2 questions here. Maybe too early. Do we know, did the perpetrator take his own life?
Preliminarily, we believe that to be the case.
Okay. And how are your officers holding up too? I mean, this is, not just for the community, this has got to be traumatic for them as well.
The initial officers on scene, this was a tragic situation for them as well, and I could see on the look on their faces that this was one of those ones that you'll remember throughout your entire career, if not life.
Do you have any expectations about when you'll have other updates, and will it be happening here at the scene or someplace else? Or?
I was hoping to do one at 4 o'clock today at City Hall. I also have Mayor Hanlon from the city here present with us today, and we'll put out more information as we gather the intelligence from the scene.
I know you're still working at one last, if you know, is this a licensed daycare? Do you have any idea?
I do not have that information.
Did the suspect shoot himself did he shoot or was he stabbed?
At this point in time, I can't tell you that information. We'll be able to tell you later this afternoon, but there's 3 deceased individuals in the house, all believed to be related.
Did the husband live at the house at the time?
I don't have that information.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Did the mayor want to say a couple words?
Did you want to say a couple words, Mayor? You guys want?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we just heard the official statement coming from the police chief there of Hopkins. That is Police Chief Brent Johnson, talking about what we had suspected to be the case. There's a deceased male, female, believed to be a couple, and their child, a juvenile victim, who are all deceased.
A total of 3 people dead. We understand that there were 7 kids in the daycare at the time. I guess the mayor is speaking now. Let's listen in.
This community is reeling. It's a small community. We're only 20,000 people, but we operate as a small community, and everyone knows each other. There are no strangers in this community, so we are all reeling with this information right now as a community, and so grateful for the different departments that have come out from across the West Metro here and immediately to lend a hand in this situation. So just grateful for the police work that's going on right now and reeling from a really tragic incident. So thank you.
Anything else you want to add here? I mean, this is obviously horrific for anybody.
Yeah, this is, I mean, I think the first and foremost is to know that there's not an ongoing threat. I think when you see a lot of police cars in our neighborhood and a lot of folks reacting and responding, to know that there's not an additional threat to our community. But yes, we are all just reeling from this tragic incident that's going on in our city right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, that's not mine. Somebody else's.
All right, so you can see we have a news conference that is just wrapping up where we heard from the police chief and then also the mayor of Hopkins, and as he said, they are reeling with the tragic incident that took place at the Brown Bear Family Daycare Center, where, just to recap, a man and a woman, we believe a couple, and their child, all deceased. And it sounds like, from what the we don't know the method of what happened here. The chief would not confirm that, but we do know that it was the man who attacked, who he was in a relationship with.
Yeah, in some capacity, it's not clear. Again, he didn't know if they were married, wasn't sure if he had been living there at the time. Again, but a family member. The police reiterated that all 3 deceased were of the same family. The male, the female, and the child. Did not say the age of the juvenile, of the deceased juvenile, but did say it appeared to be their kid, the daycare owner's child.
And he did, the police chief did verify that it was the man who took his own life, more than likely as the police were closing in, or happened right before that, but he died at his own hands, apparently. We know that there were 7 children in the daycare, and they were waiting until all of the parents were reunited with the children in this horrific scene, and that has happened. So that's why they decided to hold the news conference when they did.
Again, so it's the Brown Bear Home Daycare, and again, the police chief confirming the 7 kids were at the daycare at the time. All managed to get out and reunite with their family. Did not know the exact ages, but did say they were very young. 5 and younger is what he assumed, was kind of guessing, but that they were reunited with their family. But obviously, who knows, you know, the situation that they were in, and the idea that it was a parent. He said that it was a parent of a child who witnessed this, and that is how they got the 911 call, to be alerted that something was going on.
Understand that our Karen Skolin is now ready to fill us in with what she has learned out there and this tragic situation in this neighborhood in Hopkins. Karen?
Right. Well, you heard the chief just speaking there. He did confirm 2 adults, a male and a female, and a juvenile, are all deceased. They are part of one family, a husband and wife, or they were partners, and then also their child was killed. We do not know the gender of the child just yet. He did say all the daycare children that were in there were very, very young, and that included the deceased juvenile, that they were very, very young, maybe around 4 or 5 years old. So just a horrific, tragic situation here. Also, he did not confirm whether they were stabbed or they were shot. I asked specifically if the suspect in this was shot. He apparently took his own life, it seems, according to the chief, but he would not confirm weapons, who was stabbed or who was shot or what all the weapons were involved. He said they were still kind of looking into that. So we're still waiting on information there. All the other daycare children we know are safe. They were safely reunited with their families. So we are just talking the adult, female and male, and then a juvenile who are deceased inside this home. Unclear what led up to this. Obviously some sort of domestic situation, since they're all from the same family, but we do not know what led up to this. Obviously they're looking into it. Still hearing a lot of unconfirmed things that I'll try to get confirmed as the day goes on here. Neighbors, though, pretty stunned about what's gone on here, as were the officers who responded to this. You know, a lot of them, of course, have children, and they've seen some things, but when you see a child like that, it is just heartbreaking. And it's a rough thing to be part of when you're working the scene here. But we're working to learn more information as the day goes on. We still have a lot of police departments here investigating. Hennepin County Crime Scene on here is still here investigating as well. So this is a very active scene at this point, and I think we're supposed to get an update around 4 o'clock this afternoon, hopefully with a little more information and a few more details about what exactly went on here early this morning, right after 9 o'clock. Guys?
Yeah, I mean, Karen, you referenced it. You could see it on the police chief's face. Just the tone of just horrific situation and horrible for those officers. Yep. He mentioned, he could see it on the first responding officers going into a situation like that, and said that's something that will stick with you, not only for your career but for your life. It's just a terrible, terrible situation.
It's not even just those. Yeah, Kelly, it's not even just those who are deceased. Imagine walking in on that. You have the deceased individuals, but all of these children, these very young children in there, who had to be scared or confused as to what exactly was happening. So just heartbreaking all around, really.
Yeah, no question about that. And we understand, Karen, and I don't know if you've been able to talk with any of the neighbors around there, but Corn Hoggard was mentioning that some of the neighbors didn't even know this was a daycare, that it wasn't like highly advertised. The only thing that you could see were like on the garage door something that was kid-like. I don't know, it was trees or something on the garage door, but some of the neighbors had no idea this was even a daycare.
Right, and if they did know, it wasn't a big daycare, it wasn't very advertised. I think there were only a handful of children that were actually watched there, but it was called the Brown Bear Daycare, and indicating like a forest or something, and that's what was on the garage. It's like it's a great big decal of like a forest with tall pine trees. So they just called it, some of the neighbors just called it the garage house. They didn't really know there was a daycare there. Sure. And usually the street, by all accounts, is very quiet here.
Yeah. Karen, I know you just heard from the mayor, you just heard from the police chief, you've been talking to your sources. They wanted to make it very clear there's no longer a danger. You know, everything is secured, if you will. I guess, what's the vibe there right now? Are neighbors out? I kind of get us up to speed just on like the situation in that neighborhood as of right now. Now that kind of the fear, if you will, has calmed down a bit.
Right, there were a few neighbors out from the get-go, when this first happened, kind of trying to figure out what was happening. However, when things kind of calmed down, a lot more neighbors came out, and that's when the crime scene tape moved back even further. So we're kind of being kept further and further from the scene, especially on the residential